Hey guys, Catlin here with your last lesson, lesson 16. We're matching the situation to the equations. So let's jump in here. We got a whale. It's diving at a rate of 2 meters per second. That is going to make me think that it is going to be either the multiplication problems. And since they're diving, I'm going to assume that it's negative rates, hence why the negative 2 here. So I'm going to match this one up with A. All right. And then on the next one, a swimmer dove below the surface of the ocean. After 2 minutes, she was 12 minutes below the surface, 12 meters below the surface. At what rate was she diving? So 12 meters below, 2 minutes. They were in at 12 meters, so that makes me think that this one's going to be B. And then the temperature was negative 12 degrees Celsius and rose to 2 degrees Celsius. What was the change in temperature? So if I'm at negative 12 and I rose to 2, that would match with this one right here. And the change would be what we're looking for. That would be C. And then obviously this one must be D. So there we go. Let's move on to number 2. C, D, A, B. Starting at noon, the temperature dropped steadily at a rate of 0.8 degrees Celsius every hour. For each of these situations, write and solve an equation and describe what your variable represents. All right, so how many hours did it take for the temperature to decrease by 4.4 degrees Celsius? All right, so let's start off with our rates. Let's make a little table for this to kind of get our thoughts together. So here's my table. I've got my degrees. We'll put over here. And I've got my hours. Actually, let me switch. I like my hours on the left better. I like putting my time on the left. And then my degrees over here. So every hour, we are dropping at a rate of 0.8. For each of these situations, write and solve an equation. Describe your variable represents. How many hours did it take for the temperature to decrease to 4.4? So we want it to decrease by negative 4.4. And we have a constant of proportionality, excuse me, of a negative 0.8. So this can kind of help us get together what we're going to do to find the answer. We're going to have to divide these. But if we were going to write an equation for this, then we would say something times negative 0.08 equals this. So anytime we have a something like this, we can use a variable. So we could say that our something is X, or in this case, it's hours. We can use H. We could say H multiplied by negative 0.8 will equal negative 4.4. And that comes straight from my table. So tables can help us write equations too, as it has in the past. And I know that to get my answer, I would have to divide these. So to save me a little bit of time, I'm just going to do negative 4.4 divided by negative 0.8. And I get 5.5. So I would expect that to be 5.5 hours for part A. 5.5 hours is the question mark. If the temperature after a 4.4 degree drop was this, what was the temperature at noon? Okay, so if after the drop was here, right? So this is where we ended up. This is like the answer to the problem, right? And we know that we dropped or we added a negative 4.4 to get there. The question mark is here, right? So like what could we add this to get that? And that would be our equation, right? And this was just it wasn't asking for the equation. This was one of the answers. So what would we do to get this answer? Well, we can go back to our strategies from before. We could take the opposite or the inverse of this and just add to that. So to find my answer, I would do 4.4 plus negative 2.5. And the signs are different, so I would subtract. I'm going to do 4.4 minus 2.5, and I got to borrow. And the difference there is 9 and 1. And the positives clearly win. So for it to end up there and it to drop that much, it had to have been at 1.9 to start at noon. Let's move on to number 3. Kieran mixes 3/4 cups of raisins, a cup of peanuts, half a cup of chocolate chips to make trail mix. How much of each ingredient will you need to make 10 cups of the trail mix? This is a mixing problem. This requires a table. There's no need for us to explain our reasoning if we do the table. Okay, so we've got raisins, we've got chocolate chips, peanuts, and chocolate chips, and we will have a total once we put all those things together. All right, there's our setup. Raisins, 3/4 cup. Peanuts, 1 full cup. Chocolate chips, half cup. When you put all of those things together, 1.5 plus 3/4 is 2 1/4. So the mixture that he has right now is making 2 1/4 cup. We want to get that up to 10. So the question is, what do we need to multiply our total by now to get to our total that we want? And that's pretty obvious that it's 4. So we need to multiply by 4 because 10 divided by 4 is 2 1/4. Well, I'm off on that one. Sorry. I thought it said 2.5. Sorry. So we got to do 10 divided by 2 1/4. So if we do 10 divided by 2 1/4, we get, excuse me, we get 40/9. Oh, great. Does it really come out a quarter? I wish that didn't come out a quarter. Half, it does come out a quarter though. All right, so 40/9. Great. We get to multiply all of these times 40/9. So let's get started. 40/9 times 3/4. That's 10/3. You need 10/3 cups of raisins. That's easy enough. That'll be 40/9. A half times 40/9 would just be the same as multiplying the denominator by 2. So that would be 40/18, which is 20/9. And that combination would create 10 and keep your ratios the same. Man, I wish they came out a little nicer than that. Who does 9 cups of peanuts and chocolate chips? It doesn't seem like it's a very nice problem to work with, but oh well, that's what it turned out to be, and that's what we're going to roll with. All right, so let's go to the last problem, and we are finding the value of each of the expressions. And excuse me, we just got to add, subtract, add things that we've been doing, practicing, getting better at. Different signs, so subtract. Positives win. You should be doing 12 minus 10, and positives win. Add the opposite here, same signs, so you should be adding 5 plus 6. They're both negative, so you'll get a negative answer. Signs are different here, so you should be subtracting 42 minus 17. And the negatives will win there. They're different, so you'll get a negative answer. Here, you should be adding the opposite, which makes 35 plus 8, and that would obviously be 43. And then lastly, the signs are different, so you should be doing 4.5 minus 3. And I'm going to change that to 2 and 2/2. So you can subtract, which you'd have to take a whole from that, add a whole to that, and think of that as 3 minus 2, which is a half, 3 minus 1, which is 1. So the difference there would be 1.5, which, goodness, you could do that in your head, but I just made that a lot harder than it needed to be. Sorry. Negatives win there, so that would be negative 1/2 for that one. And that is it, guys. Sorry, if I was a little tired during the videos. I was kind of ready to go home. It's been a long day, and but I got those finished. If you have any more issues, you can always email me, or if I made a mistake, which is possible, let me know about it, and I can fix that in some follow-up videos. Peace out. See ya.